Hi everyone, thanks for joining today's webinar. I'm going to get started now as we're just coming up on the hour. So to introduce myself, my name is Greg Collins and I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Progress. And the topic that we're going to cover in today's webinar is modern monitoring zero blackouts. So basically everything around high availability. The reason we chose the topic is because, to be honest, downtime isn't just inconvenient, it's costly, disruptive, and often avoidable. So with hybrid and cloud connected environments, traditional failover strategies are no longer enough. This webinar explores the strategic shift towards high availability by design and why systems administrators play a critical role in making it happen. I'm also joined by my colleague Jason Alberino, who's a Principal Product Manager here at WhatsUp Gold. Jason will join the webinar a little bit later to give a demo of WhatsUp Gold, as well as answer any questions that you may have throughout the session. Before we start, I just want to give an overview of some quick webinar housekeeping. If you can't hear us, try connecting to computer audio, not phone audio. If you have any questions, please submit them in the questions panel on the right-hand side of your screen. We do have some time allotted at the end to answer any and all questions. And then just a reminder that this session will be recorded and distributed after, so there's no need to record it on your own end. So with that out of the way, I'll kick off today's session with a brief rundown of the agenda. So I will be giving an overview of what high availability is as a concept, why it's important or why you should care about it. I'll then go through how it works within the WhatsUp Gold product itself. I'm going to keep that fairly brief, as I'll then be passing the floor across to my colleague Jason, who'll give a demonstration of WhatsUp Gold followed by a Q&A session. So let's start with the basics. What is high availability? High availability refers to the ability of a system or service to remain operational and accessible even in the face of hardware failures, network issues, or unexpected spikes in demand. Unlike traditional failover, which reacts to downtime, high availability is proactive, built into the architecture from the ground up. It's mainly about redundancy, resilience, and real-time responsiveness. So I'm going to break down a few of the core principles of high availability. First up, we have the minimizing of downtime. So high availability helps to ensure that systems and services remain accessible even when parts of the infrastructure fail. It's designed to keep operations running smoothly during hardware failures, network disruptions, or unexpected demand spikes. This minimizes the risk of outages and helps to maintain business continuity. So now that we know what high availability is, the next question is, why is it so important? Well, nowadays users expect 24/7 access, and services span multiple environments, so even a few minutes of downtime can lead to disaster. I'm going to go over a few of the reasons why high availability is so important, starting with business continuity. So high availability ensures that mission critical systems like databases, applications, and network services remain operational even during failures. This is essential for maintaining productivity, enabling transactions, and supporting customer interactions. So for systems administrators, it means designing infrastructure that can withstand disruptions without halting operations. So whether that's a hardware fault or a cloud service hiccup, high availability keeps the business running smoothly. Next up is the lower operational risk. So infrastructure without high availability is vulnerable to single points of failure. A crashed server or a misconfigured switch can take down entire services. High availability reduces the risk by introducing redundancy, allowing systems to recover instantly and continue functioning. This not only protects against outages, but also reduces the pressure on IT teams during incidents, enabling faster recovery and fewer escalations. And then finally, better user experience. So users, whether internal staff or external customers, expect fast, reliable access to services. High availability helps deliver that by minimizing downtime and maintaining consistent performance. So for systems administrators, this translates to fewer support tickets, better SLA compliance, and a reputation for dependable infrastructure. It also builds trust in IT operations and reduces friction across departments. So where does WhatsUp Gold come into the equation? Well, high availability is now built into WhatsUp Gold's Enterprise and Enterprise Plus subscription licenses. This means that you no longer need to purchase a separate failover add-on. Instead, you get full high availability support as part of your license, allowing for active deployments, independent monitoring scopes across multiple instances. So from the enterprise license perspective, included now is support for 2 active instances. This allows for a high availability setup where one instance can take over if the other fails, ensuring continuous monitoring and uptime across your environment. The Enterprise Plus license now includes support for up to 4 active instances. This enables more advanced high availability configurations such as distributed monitoring across multiple sites or data centers. I suppose the question we often get is why this matters for systems administrators. Well, first up, there's no extra licensing complexity, so high availability is included by default. There's the ability for scalable monitoring, so easily expand coverage across environments. And then finally, independent scopes, so each instance can monitor its own set of devices, reducing risk and improving fault isolation. So now that I've gone over what high availability is, why you should care about it, and how it works within WhatsUp Gold, I'm now going to pass the floor across to Jason Alberino, who's going to give an overview of how high availability works within WhatsUp Gold. So over to you, Jason.
Hi everyone, it's Jason Alberino, Principal Product Manager here at Progress, and today I'm excited to talk about our HA by Design approach we're starting to take with WhatsUp Gold and what it means for you and how valuable it is. So really what we mean by this is you can eliminate monitoring blackouts with the deployment that we're suggesting. We'll get more into the details as we go along. Before we talk about that, let me introduce myself a bit more first. I have over 20 years experience with WhatsUp Gold. I was a customer for 10 years, then started working for Ipswitch in 2013 and have been working on the product ever since in various scenarios as a pre-sales engineer, a technical consultant, and now product manager of WhatsUp Gold. But that means I built thousands of integrations for the product, and I know quite a bit about the product in general in terms of its history, where it's come from, and what's near and dear. And we'll talk about some of these things as we go along. Okay, so without further ado, I really want to talk about, you see we have this blog post available today, and we were publishing this back in August, really talking about why the change, how our licensing is set up in a way where it's advantageous for the customer, and we really simplified this licensing as much as possible, while introducing WhatsUp Gold 360 to the mix really helps simplify some of what we're proposing here, and some deployment guidance, like how can you actually achieve HA with what we're describing, and how it's built for the future. So I'm not going to read through the entire blog post. Instead, I'm going to walk through some of why the change, and we'll go to the next one. So you'll see here I have an architecture diagram, and I have Site 1, and this is kind of our old application-based failover scenario. And in that scenario, you see I actually have 2 virtual machines to manage here. So now I have multiple responsibilities, not just 1 but 2, and really all that's happening is an application heartbeat between the scenes. The services can shift to the other system in the event of some form of failure, let's say. So let's say this virtual machine became unavailable for some reason. The other side will pick it up and take over. But there's a catch in this scenario, and that's what I'm going to underline here. We have a hypervisor cluster, and both of these virtual machines are deployed on the same hypervisor cluster. But what that means is, well, what about hypervisor HA, right? So in an actual customer scenario, I found that this is a typical deployment. They'll have a hypervisor cluster set up, and they were deploying the WhatsUp Gold virtual machines onto this highly available cluster already. So let's say they do have HA enabled on their cluster. In the event that, let's say the host this virtual machine was on completely fell off the network, power was removed, something happened to the host, the hypervisor cluster would pick this up within 60 seconds and start that virtual machine on a different host that was available within that cluster. But all of that would happen, and it would recover before our application-based failover would kick in. That heartbeat was typically 5 minutes by default. Therefore, well, it was never failing over anything, especially automatically. But in that same scenario, you still have a shared database as well to worry about. So even if one virtual machine failed and you had a separate database system, well, hopefully your secondary can reach it. But what if your database is on the same cluster and this cluster fails? Or what if this database is elsewhere where it can't be reached otherwise? Or maybe all of these are contained within Site 1, and let's say Site 1 goes away. What's the whole purpose behind the failover in HA, right? you really have some goal in mind, likely disaster recovery or maybe quick recovery from outage scenarios like this. But in general, imagine Site 1 goes away. You've lost all your monitoring. Now you're monitoring nothing. That's where our new approach comes in, where we're suggesting you deploy multiple different WhatsUp Gold instances. So what that means is they're independently managed and operated. However, this is partly included with the licensing in Enterprise and Enterprise Plus. So in Enterprise, you get 2 activations of your license, and in Enterprise Plus, you get 4 activations of your license. So you can have multiple different WhatsUp Gold environments independently operating. And what that means is, well, imagine again, Site 1 goes away. Well, you don't care because Site 2, Site 3, and Site 4 are still monitoring, right? And this is what we mean by no monitoring blackouts. By separating and creating these multiple instances, you can almost guarantee that you'll never be in a completely flying blind scenario where you don't know what's going on because you have no monitoring available. But you also have a lot of flexibility in how you deploy this, and maybe you have certain networks that are more important than others, and maybe you want to monitor different networks from different places, and there's all sorts of scenarios you can think of, and that's where we'll get into some of the flexibility of this licensing and how simple it is. So back to being built for HA, we literally allow you fully operational instances of the software when you purchase this. So if you, for example, purchase Enterprise Plus 1000 license, you get the ability to deploy 4 Enterprise Plus 1000 device instances that each independently operates. And there's no pooling involved or anything along those lines. They are allowed to monitor up to 1,000 devices. The catch being is, well, you have to manage them independently, right? There is some management overhead, but you gain a lot more on top of that. And we're starting to attempt to help with potential management overhead with WhatsUp Gold 360, and I'll shift to talking about that for a little bit. So within WhatsUp Gold 360 today, you're able to do the internet connection monitoring, which comes as part of what we're calling the connector, and that really adds a layer of high availability on top of your monitoring. So in that scenario we were just talking about where Site 1 goes away, if I have WhatsUp Gold 360 connector deployed in this hypervisor cluster, what's happening in the background is we're doing a heartbeat back to that connector. And if we don't receive a heartbeat within a certain period of time, we can notify you from the cloud end of the issue. So even in the worst case scenario where you did lose all of your monitoring, WhatsUp Gold 360 would be able to alert you that something was going on, right? You need to investigate. As part of that internet connection monitoring, we did add the ability to look at the network verification statistics over time, as well as trace routes over time. And you'll see here 20 milliseconds and 14 milliseconds obviously aren't too terrible, but I modified these values in order to just show that it's very customizable for your environment and you can point these at specific things. What I'll shift to talking about now is actually our centralized visibility beta. So yes, I can deploy all these different WhatsUp Gold servers, but how do I see all the information? Well, you have multiple different routes to success there. One is actually our distributed deployment scenario, which you get as part of Enterprise or Enterprise Plus. You're able to set up one system as a central server and then the others as remotes, and then you could sync certain information to a centralized dashboard that way. You'll see there's multiple different reports available, and you could get much more in detail. In my dashboard, I'm just looking at down monitors across the different systems and kind of just overall statuses. Well, I did say you can deploy these in different scenarios, right? So I went through and did some different deployment scenarios myself. We have 4 different WhatsUp Gold servers in my scenario, so mirroring what an Enterprise Plus license might give you. In my scenario, I chose to do only monitoring of the WhatsUp Gold servers from the second instance here, so it's quite literally only looking at the other WhatsUp Gold servers just in case. On this instance, I chose to do a little bit more than that. I'm doing some of the Hyper-V cluster I have set up and some additional network devices. And on this one, I'm doing, again, a little bit of a different mixture of the environments. And then back over to WhatsUp Gold 360. How do I see all of that information, right? Well, on our centralized visibility beta that you can join if you're a customer today, request access through our customer validation program, you'll see that you can actually sync information from all of these WhatsUp Gold systems to a centralized location and explore their data, get more information, unify reporting across all of those instances. So in my scenario, I have two different sites. One is in Alpharetta, the other is in my basement. And you'll see that we have a few different WhatsUp Gold servers in each, and I'm able to browse and get information about specific ones if I choose, all sites, specific sites, filter all of that information many different ways. So lots of flexibility already built into the beta. What you're also getting is the ability to sync information. So all of the inventory reports that are available in WhatsUp Gold today will also sync to WhatsUp Gold 360, and you're able to report across many WhatsUp Gold servers, maybe some of the asset informations you're curious about. You'll see that there's a little report builder you get access to, as well as the ability to just access the report or export it as necessary. All right, so enough about WhatsUp Gold 360. I'll shift back over to the main topic here, which is really the deployment guidance. Like, how do I achieve HA with WhatsUp Gold today in this scenario? Well, you have multiple options. Three options are listed here. You have more than just these three options, but generally speaking, I've personally tested these specific paths and found them to be working with the product. So I've gone to great lengths to set up my own environment here with a Hyper-V cluster, a Proxmox cluster, a VMware cluster, and see what happens essentially. Does the HA work as expected? And the answer is yes. And that's what we're really recommending is lean into your hypervisor based HA. We provide links in this blog post to different training articles about how to achieve it in the various ones. So there's one for Hyper-V, there's one for VMware, and there's one for Proxmox, which was my KVM flavor of choice here. All right, so with that out of the way, I guess we're almost ready to shift to questions, but let's first talk a little bit about what built for the future. What do we mean by that? Well, we showed you how it was resilient. Scalability, obviously, with multiple instances, you can scale the environment much greater. Typically, what you'll find is to get the environment this scalable, you're usually going to pay a lot of money in this market. But with WhatsUp Gold, you'll find that's not the case. It scales very well, even with a single instance, while also being able to scale well beyond that. So think 100,000 device plus environment if you spread it across 4 WhatsUp Gold servers as we described in the scenarios today. In terms of flexibility, you really get to choose like how you set up your HA in the background, or if you set up HA. Maybe you consider monitoring not that critical and you don't need HA, right? So there's a lot of flexibility in how you choose to deploy this, but also sorting by criticality, sorting by geography. Maybe certain teams get their own instances. There's many different scenarios, and every environment's going to be a little bit different in how you deploy. And in terms of security, this is really important. Well, segmenting these environments so they're not available over the internet is key. We would never recommend that you make your WhatsUp Gold servers directly available over the internet. Now, you might wonder, well, how would I then access the information? That's again where we hope WhatsUp Gold 360 can help solve that problem for you. So as part of WhatsUp Gold 360 and that connector deployment in the future, you'll be able to add a WhatsUp Gold server to that connector to sync its information back over here. And you'll see again that we already are syncing quite a bit of information, but we plan to lean into more into WhatsUp Gold 360 in the future, and obviously managing multiple instances becomes a lot easier over here. Okay, I think I talked about the topic enough. I will turn it over to questions, and glad to cover any topics related to anything we discussed today or anything WhatsUp Gold related. All right, everyone, so let's get right into questions. We got quite a few of them, so I'll try and get through as many as possible. We're going to start with what role does redundancy play in high availability by design, and how can it be optimized across distributed environments? I think I was basically showing that in the architecture diagrams, right? Like obviously every environment's going to be slightly different, but the key piece here is separating the environments creates additional redundancies, right? Like if you have more than one environment, obviously a lot of things would need to happen for both of them to become unavailable at the same time. While at the same time, distributing them across environments is also important, right? Maybe not from a, let's say, cluster perspective, but maybe from a disaster recovery perspective. It all depends on what your organization's needs are. So we do have some poll questions today, and I'm going to shift to one of those now, if Mr. Collins can help me get that going. And the poll question is, how does your organization currently approach high availability for your infrastructure monitoring tool? So maybe you are, you aren't, maybe you don't even have an infrastructure monitoring tool. And depending on the company, obviously there's going to be varying levels of how important the infrastructure monitoring actually is for you. We'll give it a few moments for some responses here. And interesting. So we can see some responses here, and looks like a mixture of 40% software-based and more coming in. The leading answer is a mix of all of the above. So it sounds like a lot of people are using multiple different solutions. Very interesting. All right, we can go ahead and get that poll closed and move on to the next question here. How do you ensure fault isolation recovery and multi-instance deployment without introducing complexity or latency? Well, this is sort of why we're suggesting you rely on your hypervisor-based high availability options, because they do simplify it for you. Depending on the technologies you have available to you, you might even have the ability to solve for disaster recovery fully, not just high availability of the systems themselves. Okay, we're going to do another poll question here. So, Mr. Collins, if you would, please. So the next one is, how would you describe the importance of high availability in your environment? I'm guessing where this is going based on some of the questions some of the answers we received in the last poll, but it all depends on the company. I've definitely worked with customers who they don't care about HA. They just accept the risk that if this becomes unavailable, it becomes unavailable, and approach it then. I think a lot of IT shops aren't that way in general, especially if there's like production systems generating revenue, right? This one looks like 88% came in at high priority. So we have another 8% on we can't operate without it. So it seems like it's a very important thing for everyone. Awesome. All right, let's get back to the questions. So what are the most critical components to monitor continuously to maintain high availability in your infrastructure? Very good question. So if you're relying upon some sort of hypervisor-based HA, you absolutely can and should be monitoring the actual availability of that HA. Like, is it actually turned on as expected? So pretty much every single hypervisor is going to give you a way to say, well, this machine's critical or this one's not, or start this in this order, things along those lines. And all of those require some sort of services or APIs to be running. So you can monitor the hypervisor itself and make sure its services are running, in addition to just monitoring the virtual machine, right? Especially if you're monitoring that virtual machine from multiple different locations, well, you're going to obviously maintain high availability in that regard. Okay, and we have one more poll question. We'll go to that now, and then we'll just run through the rest of everyone's questions here. Keep them coming in, thank you. So our quick poll here is, which hypervisors do you use in your environment today? So just general curiosity, what are people using out there? I'm guessing we're gonna see a lot of VMware, but maybe a lot of new Nutanix as well. I know Hyper-V is very common amongst our customer base too. We'll give it another few moments here to get some votes in. So we currently are at 43% VMware, 18% Hyper-V, and 32% a mix of some of the above. So KVM actually came in at 0. Very interesting. That was my Proxmox example. All right, now let's go ahead and shift to the rest of the questions we have in the panel here. So someone says, I have WhatsUp Gold business subscription. So it's HA and add-on. So in what we're describing, the high availability comes in the form of an additional installation of the product, which the business subscription does not come with. That doesn't mean you can't achieve HA with that. You would just need to lean on one of those hypervisor-based approaches we were discussing during the presentation. Someone's asking, how can we guarantee that customer with Enterprise Plus 1000 does not monitor 4 separate the instances, basically a licensing question. Like, how do we stop them from doing 4,000 devices? Well, the answer quite literally is we bake this into our end user license agreement. So based on the end user license agreement, customers are supposed to only monitor the unique number of devices that are specified in the order. So in that case, as long as they're monitoring the same 1,000 devices from 4 different instances, they'd be within the EULA. And if they were monitoring more than that, obviously it would be outside the EULA. We can discuss that a bit more if we want to reach out after the webinar. All right, on to the next question. With the existing license, we can set up a cluster across 2 different locations. Yeah, absolutely, right? Like at the end of the day, WhatsUp Gold runs on a Windows virtual machine. And so long as you have that Windows virtual machine available on something that's highly available, then WhatsUp Gold then is also highly available, I would say. Spraying it across 2 locations can be tricky, but it sounds like you've got it figured out. As long as you got the bandwidth and the means for doing so, it's really good to separate between sites when you can. Is it possible to sync config between the active instances? So generally speaking, I would say yes, but it's not something we solve for you. So, and the reason I say yes is, again, some other technologies, integrations, customizations. A good example of this is I was playing with my WhatsUp Gold PowerShell module, WhatsUp Gold PS. You could find it on GitHub and PowerShell Gallery. And I can copy a device template from one WhatsUp Gold server and push it to another WhatsUp Gold server. So I can essentially copy devices between systems, but the same goes for monitors and everything else. Obviously, you have many options when it comes to that. Some customers I've worked with have approached this by, remember in the demo I showed, well, I have one just monitoring all my WhatsUp Gold servers. Well, if one of those WhatsUp Gold servers were to become unavailable, I could go quickly restore a database or something like that. Or if I actively have replications going from the database elsewhere, I can go connect to that replicated database. So there's many different options, but generally speaking, I would say you're actually mostly better off separating between the instances for various different reasons. And those most critical devices you probably do want to monitor for more than one location. So we have a question. How does the SQL failover when HA event happened? So the SQL, it depends on scenario, right? So WhatsUp Gold does allow you to have either a local database, so either SQL Express or a full install of SQL on the same box, or a remote SQL server. So depending on your scenario, if it's a remote SQL server, you're likely going to want to lean on some SQL Server technologies in relation to high availability. If it's the SQL Express or running local, well, the virtual machine, the hypervisor HA would kick in and be able to take care of that. So if it's all on the same system, essentially all that's happening is that system would be rebooted on another host in your cluster. And as long as all the database services started up correctly, you could be good. Okay, someone asked a question. Is there a best practice document for how the cluster can be built? Yes, so I referenced that blog post a few times during the demo, but in that blog post, we have links to various different trainings from different vendors, but I would need to know which vendor to give you specific guidance there. Let's see, I think I answered that one already. Do you have an architectural diagram showing how WhatsUp Gold is set up? I don't have one handy, but it is something that I do believe we have on the website in the resources section and various different, if you look at our distributed white paper, so we have a white paper in our resources section about distributed edition. If you refer to that, I think you'll find what you're looking for. Someone asked if I could share the diagram with us that you had. Yes, reach out to us or we'll reach out to you after the webinar here and we can share that. It's just a draw IO file. Okay, another question. In Web 360, will we be able to see all inventory info available locally from all devices, from all WUG instances in one place? The answer to that question is yes. So we spent a bunch of time in a couple key program increments ago. So our development cycles, we plan like 12 weeks in advance. We have been focusing a lot on WhatsUp Gold 360, and now we're taking steps to be able to sync even more and add additional inventory data. So excited to talk about that on CVP with you. Will we be able to retrieve also the default and custom attributes such as inventory reports? The answer is yes. Eventually, we plan to sync essentially all of the data WhatsUp Gold's collecting to WhatsUp Gold 360. We've kind of approached it in chunks. So that is one of the things in the list to go there. Let's see. Is there any additional tool or application we need for SQL/application when HA event? Generally speaking, no. So I think you asked a similar question earlier, but it depends on if you have that local or remote SQL. As long as you have your systems on a highly available hypervisor cluster, you'll mostly be okay. When it comes to SQL, there's a lot of different high availability options, and I would essentially tell you to talk to your DBAs to learn a bit more about how they're currently approaching it. All right, someone asks, how do the two sites mirror each other? Yes, this is very important to underline. They do not, right? Like they do not, they are completely separate instances that are managed independently. Now you do have options of customization where you could potentially sync them together, but that's not something we provide directly out of the box for you. If you want to reach out after the webinar, we can discuss some options with you. Let's see. Someone says, will the legacy failover app become unsupported? It's a good solution for us. Yes, so we are planning the formal end of life of the legacy failover solution, but we do plan to serve out any existing support contracts. So you'll still be supported up until that support agreement expires. Presumably we can work with you to figure out a path forward. Again, if you can reach out, we can reach out after the webinar and talk about it more. Someone says, is both sites active? Yes, so that goes back to they're not mirroring each other. They're literally independently operating instances of the product. Okay, I think I made it through all of the questions. I think we are good here. If I missed any, again, please feel free to reach out to me directly. My email is alberino@progress.com. And thanks so much for spending the time today, and I hope this session was helpful for everyone. Have a good rest of your day, everyone. Take care.